This life I can't keep myself. I can't keep myself. Oh, I can't keep myself. Allow me to flex. Oh. This life I can't keep myself. I can't keep myself. Oh, I can't keep myself. Allow me to flex. Many years me I done the good. Rock the mic, me I rock the show. Many hit songs when I go. Still them go say me I know they try. I see them complain of Kanye West. Speaking mind the people best. Everybody wants to be the best, but the world can do without the best. So I forget I see me Jehovah. I tell them I'm to the right. Nobody did that Jehovah. I say I for the right time.
Confused. All right.
Do them like you know. This time I can't keep myself. I can't keep myself. Oh, I can't keep myself. Allow me to flex. This life I can't keep myself. I can't keep myself. Oh, I can't keep myself. Allow me to flex. Why would we never say now I go? Some people say I'm a lover. Never. Not the enemy carry me back. Nobody they carry me pass. Only anybody they carry me pass. Nobody know me and they pray and fast. Only God they carry me pass.
Black Hot Network Media for the 21st century.
This life I can't keep myself. I can't keep myself. Oh, I can't keep myself.
Allow me to flex. Oh,
this life I can't keep myself. I can't keep myself. Oh, I can't keep myself. Strength. Whenever I meet. So we don't care.
What's good, wonderful people, and welcome to the Voices of the Motherland show, coming live to you all the way from the Nairobi studios, all the way from the 254. And I do trust that everyone is doing okay. My name is Kami, and this is the Voices of the Motherland show. I do trust that everyone is doing okay. And one thing, if you are not doing okay, trust me, everything happens for a reason on earth, and it is upon you as a human being to hold on tight. And talking about holding on tight, it reminds me of someone, a Pato ranking song, which says, it is, I think the title of the jama is JJ, whereby it says, hold on tight, irrespective of the situation that you are in. My name is Kami, and of course, it is a very, very beautiful Tuesday, I must say. And welcome to the Voices of the Motherland show, whereby we do get to host it with the one and only amazing Rumbizai Muzopa. And I think the entire of my Tuesday I have been sharing this life I can't kill myself by the one and only, of course, Timaya. And the reason as to why I am constantly playing this song, that is To the Amazing Family, it's just because some people have gone ahead and ended their lives because they either they are in love with someone and this person doesn't love them in return, or they have indulged themselves maybe in some black market deal, and as a result, maybe the deal didn't go as they had planned, and as a result, they have ended. That is, they have found themselves in a pretty much messed up situation, and that is why on the Voices of the Motherland show we get to talk about life easily. Take that break, breathe in, breathe out, because at the end of the day, your family is waiting for you. Your mama, your papa, if both of them are alive, they are waiting for you. Your children, they are also waiting for you at the same time. And just to continue with this, remember here it is all about positive vibrations. It is all about ensuring that you are staying sane. Because if anything, Art has told us that at some point, things just get to happen and you end up just becoming insane. They are sometimes maybe you have done a deal, you are at work, maybe you have promised your wife, maybe you have promised your husband that okay, at the end of this and this, I'm expecting this type of money. Only for you to realize that the deal was just a scam. And you are left with bills, you are left with children looking unto you. And that is when now people get to go suicidal. Remember, this life, I can't kill myself, by the one and only Timaya. And of course, remember you can get also to log in at www.blackoutfirenetwork.com, and you can take a look at some of the videos, some of the episodes, of course, videos and episodes at the same time. And you can kindly, because let me use the terminology kindly. You can kindly like and share the videos to support the stream. Remember, in the black, of course, in terms of remember, black is always supreme. It is all about building one another. It is all about sharing that information out there with that part and parcel of the people that really don't get to dig much. Because for some people, I really don't get to blame them. For some people, they believe that when they reach a certain age, that is the time that they really don't get to take much in terms of information. But remember, when you get to log in at www.black.fire network, you can take a look at some of these videos. You can support the stream after taking a look at the videos, liking and getting to share the videos. You can take a look at the stream, get to support the stream by liking and sharing their stream only on a Black Hot Fire Network. And of course, before I even get to continue with the show, I see an amazing wow. I see Ata, get your hand out of my pocket. I mean, it's been long since I got to interact with you, but I do trust that you are doing okay at the get, of course, your hand out of my pocket. And of course, I am thrilled that you are tuning to Black Hot Fire Network Media for the 21st century. And of course, remember, this is the Voices of the Motherland show coming all the way to Nairobi. And let me know the situation in your country. Early on, when we did have the Calm African Diary show, it was a bit sunny in Nairobi. But what I'm saying is that I think a storm is coming a few minutes from now. But then again, the storm won't make us hide under the table, because at the end of the day, we need to give that voice in terms of the black, in terms of course, the black society. We need to give that voice and ensure that the black is still supreme, that the black is still beautiful, and that black is still, of course, gold. And I believe, get your hand out of my pocket. I think this is Mr. X, if I am not wrong. I think this is Mr. X. Karibu Sara to the Voices of the Motherland show. And just to continue on that, I believe he is a part and parcel of the Black Hot Fire family. I am super thrilled. Remember, this is the Voices of the Motherland show. And before we even get to continue with the show, because the topic of the day, one thing that I like about the Voices of the Motherland show is that we get to move away from all that political things. We get to move away from all that, all that tension. Because if anything, I can talk about what Africa is known about is it is in terms of politics, it is in terms of corruption. But here, we are not taking a look at the situation in terms of corruption. Rather, we are taking a look at some of the things that get to affect us. These are the things maybe when you are driving on your way to work, you get to see them. And I do trust that till now, some of you are still waking up or maybe going to work and getting to embrace work and really appreciate that. But let me just share this one fact with the amazing family before we get to proceed with the show. Remember, this is the Voices of the Motherland show coming live to you from the 254 in Nairobi. Did you know that crows can easily distinguish humans apart from each other? Okay. On most occasions, you have seen a crowd. That is, on most occasions, you have seen crows. And as a human being, personally, I can't. I've never been able to distinguish each crow because I'm like they have the black and white tie on their neck, and that is it. They are the same. But these crows, as much as we see them maybe nearby, leeches and things like that, the crows can easily distinguish humans apart from each other. But we as humans, we find it nearly impossible to tell crows apart. And also one thing about crows is that they can actually hold a grudge with specific human beings. So if you're out there maybe shouting at them and throwing things at them, trust me, they get to know that, okay, so this guy from this house and so on, so he is very cruel. We can't maybe eat at his litter, I guess, we shout at us. But you as a human being, you act on like, I think it is a different crow on my yard or something like that, because they are nearly the same. And of course, remember earlier on the day we had learned, of course learned some new words in terms of the Calm African Diary Show. We had learned some amazing new word, and this was in terms of pteronophobia. Let me repeat this because I believe it is high time that we as a family, we get to learn something new on a daily basis. Pteronophobia. I repeat this because they say that education is not limited to anyone. Pteronophobia is the fear of being tickled by feathers. Okay, to the family, I have been tickled by feathers, and the feeling I'm like, okay, I really don't want this to happen. I'm like, look, oh, I'm shook. It's there's that a ticklish, there's that feeling like as human beings, from time to time, maybe you're serious with your work, you just used to like going back from work and then back to home. You don't want any other trouble and things like that. But I believe out of 100, 70% of human beings have experienced pteronophobia. And remember, it is all about learning new words because education is on a daily basis. And that is why Blackout Fire Network always comes to you with new terminology. Blackout Fire Network always comes to you with things that are happening both in the diaspora and also in Africa. And today, away from politics, we get to discuss a little bit about pteronophobia. Maybe perhaps you have, in Africa, it is quite rampant for you to slaughter a chicken. And at times, I get to use that feather, maybe put it in my ear. I'm like, oh, okay. To the point where you're even looking, to the point where even your eyes are not looking at each other. Because it is a crazy feeling. But that feeling, it is called pteronophobia. Welcome once more to the welcome once more to the Voices of the Motherland show, only on a Black Hot Fire Network. And remember, the topic of the day, it is in regards to, how domestic workers are being approached. And let me just give you the question of the day. Do you believe that you as the employer, you need to go out there and put a CCTV camera on your domestic workers? Let me give my answer to that. For some people, they believe that if I put my, CCTV cameras to my domestic workers, then I am able to monitor what they're doing. Because not that I'm looking down upon any domestic worker. For some, they have known to quite really be messy. For some, they have, because there was a time whereby there was a video that was trending in terms of domestic workers. There was a video that was trending in terms of domestic workers, whereby this domestic worker, because she was from the village and she really didn't get to, experience all that being taken through things and so on. So she used to go to the loo, when you get to flush that loo, there's still some water that gets to remain. She used to go there because she believed that maybe this is a modern pot. She used to go there fetch that water, prepare tea for the family. And because you are still sleeping at 4 a.m., because you're still sleeping at 5 a.m., 5 a.m., at 3 a.m., and you have made it mandatory that as a domestic worker, or rather as a house help in your work, in your house, she needs to be earlier than the rest of you. She has been, of course, scooping that water from, the loo, that is after flushing it, and preparing it tea. And I think this has been going on for quite a long time. And when the employer got to realize that, I think if I was the employer, the first thing I'll do is, I think, get to disinfect myself as much as possible, because you can't imagine what you have been going through. But of course, nevertheless, we are going to speak about the situation in terms of domestic workers. We are going to speak about the situation in terms of some of the do's and don'ts in terms of domestic workers. Some of them, of course, they have come from the village and they really don't get to understand. Some of them, they have been working under farms, and we have seen this situation. Some of them, they have been able to help your kid more than you yourself could help them, because of the nature of how they have been brought up. And of course, stick back to the Kami African Diary Show and remember the title of the jam that I did get to play earlier on. It is I Can't Kill Myself. And of course, this is in regards to all those, of course, suicides that are happening in our society. Because I believe it is high time. Please, don't kill yourself because a guy lets you. Ladies, there are millions of men out here who will still take you, appreciate you, love you the way you still are, and even more. To the men also, there are dozens and millions of girls out here who will go out there out of, because I remember every relationship has to teach you a lesson. One relationship will teach you about patience and things like that. One relationship will make you hard and you'll be like, I think I'm turning to be a tomboy, because men, they're just not supposed to be appreciated. But I believe it is high time you, as a person, you get to experience and do some little bit of a self-loving. Remember, this is the Voices of the Motherland show, coming live to you all the way from the 254 Nairobi. I believe on Rumbi's eyes, and there is a little bit of connectivity, because right now in different African countries, we are experiencing heavy rains. And sadly enough, in terms of connectivity, in terms of internet connectivity, electricity, on most occasions, electricity will be out or internet will be out. And when you get to call these help numbers, some of these guys, they are already at home. They just want that time with their families. So you're going to wait until the next day and things like that. But of course, that doesn't get to hinder us to getting to experience to the show. Remember, guys, to those who are listening, to those who are watching the show, we really appreciate you, because I believe this is the time that a majority of you are out there working. My name is Carmen, and this is the Voices of the Motherland show. And of course, the title of the day, or rather the topic of the day, coming right to you from all the way in Nairobi, it is in terms of dealing with domestic workers. How do you get to deal with that domestic worker? How do you get to make her feel comfortable? How do you get to make her feel like she can't trust you with her problems? How do you get to make her feel like she can't go ahead and maybe borrow you money, and maybe you can't deduct that money? And at the end of the day, you can't get to relate and come about to the conclusion. How do you get to make her feel like she can't invest that money in a bank? Because as humans, it is mandatory, and at some point, it is very natural for things to get to happen sometime. And of course, let's take a short musical break as we get to enjoy, of course, some little bit of that is some little bit of the one and only Asimi song before we do get to enjoy the song. And of course, the title of the song, it is Ayo by the one and only Simi. And remember, this is the Voices of the Motherland show right here on Black Hole Fire Network.
Everything when I touch, for this life, anything when I want. She not my heart, she not what she oh. I get down, I get the dirty, oh my God. Ikarmele kome ubaile, mtoyo kauyo, ayo aka, eri, ireo, ayo mideo, every day, showers of blessing rain on me. She not money when you want, oh, I be on for a month, oh yeah, time young, oh, ayo aka, eri, happiness not equal, prosperity something I'm blessing God. I am I should go, wherever we go. Victory, I know the finish, and it's a video. Look, you don't go wrong, no more tension, no wala, to the all out. Oh, sit down. I'm sorry, I'm saying, I don't want to be a gentleman. I'll be a little guy to believe. Shario, I'll be real. I don't need it. I am every day. Showers of blessing. She not money when you want. I'll be on for a month. Oh, yeah. Time don't come. Oh, I don't have it. Happiness not you want it. Prosperity is something you don't do. I'm blessing calling. Oh, I don't have it. I tell me a roll. I tell me a roll. We are dancing in dance of one. As you go on, you go follow. Before you ask, go on. I am singing the all about the
Welcome back to the Voices of the Motherland, the show right here on the Black Hot Fire Network, media for the 21st century. And of course, the African Duchess is here with us. Hi, Rumi Zaimuzopa, all the way from the land of Zimbabwe. How you doing, African Duchess, the amazing, beautiful lady?
How are you, calling me? I'm good.
I'm good.
What's good in Zimbabwe? How's the weather in Zimbabwe? Because here I was just highlighting that we are about to experience some storm. Trust me, it is quite cloudy, and I think it is about to rain any minute from now.
Even from my side, it's about to pour heavy rains. That's
And
my outside.
uh-huh.
Rain here.
Yeah, and once and for all, I've always been agreeing with Keith because Keith has been talking about how the fact that we as Africa, we are one. We as Africa, we do have a lot of similarities. Before colonization, we didn't have the issue with dealing with the borders, and that is why it was able for you to commute from one place to another. That is why we get to share some a little bit of weather patterns. And of course, Rumi, I'm really happy to get to interact with you on the Voices of the Motherland show. And the topic of the day it is in regard to dealing with house helps. Rumi Zai, let me just give you a snippet of what has been happening in the country. In the country, there was a time. Let me just give you an example of what was happening in Zimbabwe. So there was a time, not in Zimbabwe, in Uganda. So there was a time in Uganda whereby the video was circulating on social media. I really do not want to share this video because it makes me feel like I don't want to give back to a child and leave her with a house help. So there was this video whereby the house help was left with the kid because the parents, they are busy, and this was a rich family, and she's left with the kids. Trust me, at Rumbi's eye, this lady used to beat this is a young child who can't even talk, who can't even crawl, used to pinch her, slap her, beat her, and things like that, force her to eat food. As a baby, at times you get to eat food, at times you just don't want to eat food. She used to release the stress of the parents on the kids, and eventually this kid ended up dying because of what it was subjected to. It didn't have that voice to go ahead and add to the parents like, yo, mommy and daddy, when you go to work, this is what happens to me when you leave me with the house help. And I want to ask you this question, Aterumbi. In terms of dealing with house helps, what is your view on that? Because for some people, they say in regards to the video, they say that maybe their parents were mistreating their house up, and as a result, she had to avenge what she was going through to the baby. For some people, they're like, it is good to dig on the background of whom you are, are employing into your house. Because for some people, they are really desperate. They're like, I'm going out to work, and I really need to get a house help from any from different, these are house help farms. I can get any house help that I want. I do not care about a background, because I just assume that information about her has been dug. What is the perception in that in regards of how house help attempt they get to handle babies? And of course, even before you get to answer that, we'll also get to take a look at the situation as to what these house helps go through. Because for some of them, the action that they do get to portray out here, it is in regards of what their bosses get to do. Kindly, Rumbizai Muzopa, go ahead and get to give your sentiments in terms of the question that I have posted to. And before Rumbi get to answer that, I see at Aman Agola, you said hi. You said my land. Karibu Sana to the Voices of the Motherland Show. I'm just basically saying welcome to the Voices of the Motherland Show. Rumbizai Muzopa, the floor is yours.
Oh, Kalmi, do you know I would have forgotten your question because you keep going on and on and on. But well,
That
I'll
is
try.
wrong. Uh, that is the issue with earlier on. I was talking with Kid. We do have an issue from the community that I'm coming from. In that, you either get to speak faster, faster. Even the men, the women in the community from where I'm coming from, we get to speak faster, faster, and yeah. But this is just. Let me just summarize this. Just answer in terms of what is the solution, or rather what are some of the issues that get to make this house help behave the way that they get to behave, maybe in terms of the kids, in terms of doing house calls, in terms of how they get to relate, in terms of there's just a lot of angles that you can get to dwell on this.
All right. When it comes to the house help, um, mostly we
Mm-hmm.
call them maids, right? They are maids, but out
Absolutely.
here we call them auntie, auntie. That is what we refer to them. So obviously they'll be taking care of the house, they'll be doing the laundry, the basic domestic work about around the house. But well, you tend to see that it's not everyone with good intentions, just like me and you. It's not everyone who's got good intentions when it comes to your work. So when it comes to the help as well, they tend
Mm-hmm.
to do such distasteful, disgraceful things. For example, we've had house helps, like you were saying, that they beat up your child, and this is someone who can't even talk. Some of these house helps, there are people who are just desperate for money, and
Mm-hmm.
they've never taken care of a child in their whole life. But well, you know, because people are very desperate, they just take any job, and because they're not patient with kids, some of them don't even have kids of their
Yes.
own. Yeah, so they tend to abuse the kids in so many ways. Some of them, even some of the house help, like to those who have male house helps, there are also male house helps. They rape these young girls. As in they rape the boss's kids. Um, they're involved in so many. At one time, we once heard that there was a maid
Mm-hmm.
who would you know how kids play around the toilet. But well, this one in particular, she would intentionally feed or take drinking water from
Mm-hmm.
the toilets to feed the boss's kid. So people
Exactly.
are just vile out there. And also because getting proper maids who have been vetted and have gone through the whole inspection process, it's very expensive. Especially in Africa, those agencies, they are not quite common, whereby
Yeah.
you go and then you get
Mm-hmm.
someone who's quite professional. So you're just taking someone. It can be a relative, or you're just taking someone from wherever, someone you don't even know, a stranger into your home, and
Mm-hmm.
and they will do the most atrocious deeds to your kids. not only to your kids,
True.
but we've had cases whereby, I'll speak for my country, whereby the maid will end up having an affair with your husband. And when they have an affair with your husband,
Exactly.
in the worst cases, at times, you can find out that the official wife, the wife of that house, can be
Mm-hmm.
told to pack her bags, can pack her bags and go, and the maid
My friend.
becomes the official spouse to the boss. So in many cases, women,
Uh-huh.
for the wives, they prefer to be the ones who deal with the maid, like in terms of their payment, in terms of their necessary needs, like the lotions and whatnot. Women, they prefer to deal with the maids because the moment the maid has access or certain things that your husband will be needing, you people can't afford to leave their maids with their husbands because one
Absolutely.
day,
Absolutely.
yeah, like recently there was a maid in my neighboring area. So the wife of this man goes to work
Mm-hmm.
overnight. So obviously they will leave their kid with the maid and the husband.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine for a month with how especially nowadays it's raining. Rainy weather is
Yeah.
quite romantic. Calming. It's relaxing.
True that. I agree with you, Rumi. It gets to
Before
relax
you
you.
know it, before you know it, the husband was not sleeping with the maid to such an
Mhm.
extent that right now the maid is pregnant, I tell you. So
Hey.
yeah, and well, like you were saying on the other second part of your question, that as well, the way we treat the landlords, the bosses, the way we treat the maids, this house help as well, it
Yeah.
it is also a causation as to some of the acts they do. Like for example, I will tell you,
Mm-hmm.
generally in Africa, people are underpaid. That I'll tell you for a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Even with a house help, people, we mistreat the house help. We think
Yeah.
they are not quite important. We think that their job is a low life job and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. But I don't think so. People, we underpay these people because this is the one who's going to clean up your child's poo poo, who's cleaning. It's like
Yeah.
they're cleaning up after you. That is a very, very hard job,
Mhm.
cleaning after a human being who is just like you. So these are the people we mistreat. So now imagine you mistreat the maid and then they spend the whole day with your kids. What do you expect them to do? You
Mhm.
don't expect them to treat your kids nicely. It means
Absolutely.
they will be rough to your kids because they are now letting out
Yeah.
that fury or that pressure that you'd have caused upon them. So obviously, in return,
Mm.
they hurt your child. But it's not everyone who
Yeah.
hurts your child just because you have mistreated them. Some people are just evil.
Yes.
Some people are just pure evil out there.
They're
No
just
matter you
cycles.
have done
Mm-hmm.
anything bad to them, they will just do they'll just hurt you without you even doing things. I know people whereby they have been treated nicely and still they return it with evil. So yeah, but in most cases, the people who do mistreat kids, it's because the bosses, they would have done something, so they will be now retaliating.
Absolutely. And to Rumbis, I wouldn't agree more with you. And thank you so much for your sentiments in terms of that. You know, Atarumi has highlighted some of the important things. This incident whereby you as a lady, you are working into your home, maybe you are busy being the family, maybe your husband has loads of his the job, and you're walking into your house and boom, the husband and the lady, they have been doing it for quite a time. And before you even get to realize they have a baby. And perhaps you as a lady, you know, actually there's also this issue whereby you as a lady, perhaps you have been giving birth to only that is a girl children, and your husband is insisting on having a male children in the house, but you as a lady, because I believe in terms of science, they say that the man is the one who is always capable in terms of ensuring the gender as to which they get to, you know, in terms of the gender they get to give the baby. But this same man will go ahead and look for another gender in terms of, you know, in terms of the lady who is nearby them, that is in terms of even associating themselves with the household. This has been a common case in different African countries, in the diaspora at large also. also. And also the Rumbizai has also highlighted on the fact that most of the times it is a note about how you treat them. Most of the time, some people that's just are pretty much messed up. And of course, let's take a short break as we take a look at the situation in terms of how the domestic workers they are abused. And of course, I really appreciate your sentiments at Rumizai Muzopa. I wouldn't agree much more with you. And before you take a break and get to enjoy that video, I see Ata, get your hand out of my pocket. That is, I believe it is Mr. X. You have said a good job, ladies. We really appreciate you on that. Really appreciate you on that. And also at a man, sorry, at a big cheese, you said that reminds me. I have to get a maid. Big cheese. Wait a minute again. What did you just say in terms of getting a maid? Okay, crazy though. But I believe it is on the positive side. And I see General Mosquito Karibu Sana to the Voices of the Motherland show. You have said hello and a grand raising, ladies. We are doing absolutely fine. And you have gone ahead and said good afternoon to all in the chat. Let me just proceed and share the video in terms of the situation that is happening in the United Arabs in the terms of how women are, of course, being misused. And of course, some of these women, they haven't found their way home because some of them have been killed in the process. You go to the United Arabs, perhaps you have been indulging in a project in terms of building your mama house and things like that, only for you not to be able to finish building that house, only for you not to be able to finish taking your brothers and sisters to school because you are the breadwinner for that family. Let me just share this situation in terms of what is happening in the United Arabs, because this is a very common there, that the value of the black woman, the value of the black man, at some point it is looked down upon. I have seen disturbing videos. I believe also at Rumbi Zai has seen the same, whereby even men are being chained, beaten, whooped because you're just a domestic worker and you are black and there's nothing you can do about it. And even your government, as much as this issue is even taken in terms of the airport, in terms of dealing with public relations from different African countries, they really don't get to dwell on the matter because it is all about corruption.
A dipstick into just how sick our society is. Researchers have uncovered shocking levels of abuse and sexual harassment of domestic workers at the hands of employers. They found that workers hardly ever report these incidents. COVID-19 is said to have worsened the situation. For more on this, we're joined by Bongio and Dondo from one of the organizations which carried out the study, the Sanganisa Institute of Development, Southern Africa. She talks to me now from Centurion. And Bongio, thank you for joining me. And I think I want to, it's important for us to own up to the mess and the situation that women who work as domestic workers are subjected to. Let's start with the forms of abuse that you came across in the study that you did.
So I think the first thing to note, Tulasizwe, is where you've started, to recognize the alarming levels of gender-based violence in South Africa. And having recognized that, to also make a note that certain groups are disproportionately affected by gender-based violence, and domestic workers are one such group. So as an organization, we are interested in making sure that people who live on the margins, that their voices are heard and that their issues are also put to the fore. So this is the context in which Hlanganisa partnered with the Izwi Domestic Worker movement to make sure that the voices of ordinary women working in our homes are actually amplified. And what we found was that domestic workers work in isolation. They work in your home, plus in mine, in people's private homes, and in people's very intimate spaces. And they often have very vague job descriptions, that lend them very easily to sexual violence and sexual harassment within their workplaces. And remember, by workplace here, we're talking about somebody's home. So where in your ordinary workplace, you would typically have a human resource department. This is not what you have for domestic workers. So any employee in distress is forced to, confront their boss. I'm going to use the boss because that was the term used in the report, but forced to confront their employer. And what the report showed was that often the employers are the main perpetrators of sexual violence and exploitations within this group. And domestic workers have very little, by way of recourse. And many of them do not take the bold step to report the violence because they risk losing their jobs. So they're caught between a rock and a hard place, really. And for those that do, they are often victimized by law enforcement agents, and many of the domestic workers we spoke to, by far the greatest percentage were undocumented migrants.
Sure.
And so again, they are fearful that they're going to be subjected to further forms of discrimination if they do report. And you asked the question to us, what were some of the forms of violence?
Yeah.
So for instance, you had employers walking around the house exposing their private parts to domestic workers. Employers walking into the rooms of domestic workers during their private times at any hour of the day or night, because in many instances these domestic workers live on our premises. So employers made the excuse that this is my house or this is my property, and therefore I can walk in at any time.
And you also found some of the abuse instances that sort of mirror what happens in broader society, right? For instance, you talk here about issues about employers and bosses commenting on the body features of the domestic worker.
Absolutely. So you had a lot of, sexual, hints thrown at domestic workers. They touching their breasts, they touching their buttocks. They engineering for opportunities for the male boss to be home alone with the domestic worker, and then they ask for sexual favors during that time. Sometimes threatening them with losing their jobs. Sometimes promising them to a little bit extra pay. And so it was very disgusting. And I think at the heart of this, if we want to understand this, these are not just acts of criminality to Lasizwe. We need to go back and even interrogate how employers see their relationships with domestic workers. And for us, this study took us to the days of slavery, where employers felt a sense of entitlement and ownership over their this in the same house. So
before I run out of time, let's touch on your recommendations, because you've got specific recommendations that you made for the Department of Labor, for example, that have to do with policy interventions. And I know that when we're dealing with a burning fire, it seems frustrating to be talking issues of policy. Let's improve the policy. But among the things you recommend is the expansion of the inspectorate of the Department of Labor. How would that benefit, this particular situation? And also, while you're talking about that, of course, then also talk about the recommendations that include the establishment of a call center, for example.
Yes. So the recommendations touch on various issues to us. So that the one you started with, we want to see a lot more by way of effective policy and regulation.
All right, that is just a brief of what is happening in terms of domestic workers. Some people feel that they are entitled just because I'm working in a home, it doesn't mean that you gotta walk naked around me. Trust me, we're gonna fight. Let that money be. We are fighting. Things are going to be bad. I cannot imagine myself as a domestic worker, and you are out there mistreating me. You are out there walking naked in the living room and trying to lure me. Because on most occasions, I believe you have watched. I can't recall the title of the movie, but this is in terms of slavery. There was a movie that Lupita Nyong'o had starred in terms whereby the Muzungu guy is really into Lupita and is giving her looks and things like that. But the main lady of the house, she gets to realize that this slave, in quotes, of course, she is all about entertaining my man. And as a result, Lupita gets herself being whooped. Lupita gets herself being, of course, hit by glasses and things like that. And I believe this is in, I think the title of the movie was 12 Years of a Slave. Trust me. You cannot, actually, I'm coming to your home, and I am a domestic worker. You can't just walk around and nude. Please, I beg. You are not what gets to make me feel like I need a man and things like that. Keep your body to yourself. Let's stick to that boundary. Let me do the cleaning in your house. But you as a person, kindly go ahead, wait for the services to be done. Do not come and interfere with my work premises. At Romizai, let me just ask you in terms of what is happening in the domestic. Many people have, of course, lost their lives. Many people have lost their lives in terms of working for the Europeans, working in different Arabian countries, and it has not been quite good. I see it. Mariah, of course, tried to join us. I do trust that she is doing okay. Mariah, how are you doing? Okay, I think our internet is a little bit buffering. But at Rumi, there's this situation whereby some people have gone to different European nations, and only for them to come back home in coffins. I mean, this is not good. The fact that I'm out there hustling for my family, you need to respect me. You need to give me that opportunity to look for money, to look for that money and help take my young ones to school, or rather take my family to school. Romezai, if you can hear me, what is your take on the fact that different African governments, they are really not caring about this situation that are happening in terms of um, domestic workers going to different European nations, and as a result, they come home in coffins, or as a result, they end up being killed, and because there was this time whereby a lady was killed, and her tummy was opened up, and what was just found is that they were, of course, cocaine imposed in her body. It was just more like a drug cartel for her. And my question again to Rumbi is that it is in terms of the African government, that the African government isn't doing anything at all.
All right. Thank you for that, Kalmi. You know what? It's not just on maids. Generally, we
Yeah.
have people. We have citizens. We have people who come back in the worst shape ever, like you were saying, in coffins, and the government doesn't do anything about it because what can I say? How can I really put it into terms? All right.
Mhm.
I don't think the government already, right? To them, they're thinking they are doing so much, but these are the issues that they should be standing up for. Because when
Sure.
people leave our country, when people leave their countries going to seek employment in other countries, right?
Mhm.
Employment is employment. Um, be it domestic work, be it a doctor, employment is employment. So I think there should be an introduction of organizations. You know, we have child services protection. We have so many of these organizations. But when it comes to people who can stand up for the domestic workers or people who have those kind of jobs, I feel
Rumi,
like,
can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. I feel like they're just
All right.
forsaken, as they say. And we need to get to a point whereby um
Sure.
people, the government respects the people, their employment, they respect as well the life of the citizens, because the life of the citizens is the one that matters the most.
Mhm.
And governments as well should set aside differences, because
Yeah.
when I go to South Africa, I should not be scared to work in South Africa, right? The government, even in South Africa, should be able to protect me, not just because to them I'm a foreigner, right? But still, I'm human at the end of the day. It's like someone from South Africa coming to Zimbabwe seeking for employment. It doesn't matter which country you are in, but well, because of the whole xenophobia, among other issues, right? We have Africans fighting against Africans. We've got black people killing other black people. This is exactly what is happening in South Africa. You go there, you come back, maybe you're dead, or maybe you come back with a broken arm. And this is not something that would have been done to you by the white man. This is something that a fellow brother would have done to you. So I think, um, despite wherever you are, one should feel safe, right? But that is no longer the case. That is no longer the case. And I feel like the government, I don't know if it's gotten tired or it's just being ignorant to
Yeah.
things like this. But
Okay.
yeah, and as well, no one is raising awareness or advocating for people who are working in other nations, like especially the domestic
Mm,
workers. Like I told you, people think it's a low life job, so no one really cares about them. Honestly speaking, honestly, no one really cares about them, about their livelihood. But well, these are people with families, these are people with so many responsibilities back home, but no one does care about them.
mhm,
So I think this is quite it's an eye opener that the governments, even the people, they are lagging on this issue because honestly, no one really cares about them. That is the truth. No one cares about domestic workers.
absolutely.
That is the honest truth. If it
All
was,
right.
if yeah, so yeah, you can speak.
Okay, thank you for that, Rumbi. I see that Mariah has joined us. Mariah Karibu, welcome so much to the Voices of the Motherland show. We are, of course, almost coming to the end of the show, but perhaps you can go ahead and greet the family and get us to give your views in terms of, you can get to give your views in terms of, dealing with domestic workers, perhaps in the diaspora and also in Africa at large. Because as of course, Rumbi had said earlier on, some of these that is jobs in terms of domestic workers, they are believed to be low life jobs. So the government won't even care if you are being mistreated, you're being molested at work. Because at the end of the thing, you're out there hustling for yourself. Mariah, kindly go ahead and give your views to that.
All right, Asanteni, thank you very much, my queen sister Kalmi, and my queen sister Rumbi. Thank you very much, and Blackwood Five family. You're welcome. And about the maids working in diaspora, and okay, domestic workers, you say? I'll say maids. Okay. Maids working diaspora. Actually, I feel like this is something most ladies of Africa are resorting to, whether they're
Mhm.
educated or not, because that's a fast and quick job to get. I also hear they do give free tickets and visas and then passports or work tours. So that means everything is totally free. But the question is, are you going to be free where you're
Exactly.
going to? I always feel like the situation and the economical policy of Africa are trying to make young African people
Maria, can you hear? Can you hear us for a minute? I think you froze. Rumi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I think Maria's internet quite went out, but of course she was giving her sentiments in terms of the way that the situation is in terms of domestic workers. But of course we are almost coming to the end of the show, and I would love to share some facts with you before we give a verification in terms of that is a solution to what domestic workers get to go through. Maria, can you hear us?
I
I see at
guess
General
that was
Mosquito
my
is
network.
trying to log in.
That
I
was
believe. I hope you're in.
Call me on back. That was my network to interrupt
Mariah,
me.
can you
All
hear
right.
us?
So like I was saying,
All
yes,
right.
I do. Do you hear me?
Mm-hmm. I understand
Yes,
there
All
is
we
right.
can
some
hear
So like I
you.
was
buffering.
saying before, sorry,
We
what
can hear
what were you
you.
saying?
Yes, I
All
can
right,
hear you
good.
quite
So
clear.
thank you. So all right. So most domestic workers, I will talk about
Yes.
Uganda in particular. You find that most people are having free ticket, free
Yeah,
visa, and then
we
the
can hear you.
passport
Can
is
you?
just upon by the
Yeah.
country that is taking them. So you find that this is the best quick way of people getting jobs. But the question is, what are they going to do out there? Okay. So somehow I feel like the economical, political, and
Mhm.
social standards of Africa are trying to make young African people enslaved anew. Because when you look at the list at which other people are taken to be made, there is an age group they really want to take. That means it's up from 18 years, I think 18 or 20 years to something like 40. That means they are targeting young people to
Exactly.
go out there. And when we talk about Arabs and this other thing, that is another different long story now. How Arabs treat black girls. and all the discrimination and enslavement. My sister called me. You know what happened at the coast of Zanzibar in the past. So I feel like these people still feel that we are still slaves. No matter the development and all that. I don't think like you go to an Arab country and you're treated like a free man
Yeah.
there. You know, so we've so much seen a lot of ladies of Africa turned into sexual objects by their bosses and turned into slaves by their female bosses. So there is no place of resting, more especially when you are in another race's hand. I don't know how black people do treat their fellow black people, but at least I've read, I've heard, I've seen videos with this the black girls from Africa, how they're being mistreated in Arab countries and in other places. Actually, this is a very good topic. How I wish we could invite some of them who are live in those countries to come and tell us what exactly is happening. I really
Absolutely.
think we should get some of them to have them as
Sometimes
guests,
I
and
get to
it will be a good thing when they're coming. All right, thank you.
Mhm. And absolutely correct. I really get to, of course, agree with you. And of course, to Sister Mariah, you have really spoken quite of an amazing point. Thank you so much for that. Because it is quite crazy that still people believe that a black woman going out there just because, let me tell you, some of these ladies, not that they are not married, some of these ladies, they might be out of a campus or out of a diploma and things like that, only for them not to get a job opportunity. So as a result, because you do not want to sit home with your mama, you do want to sit home with your papa, really to go out there and work, of course, get to put money in your pocket. You have, of course, to risk it all. And for some of them, they have really been going through a lot. And of course, we are coming to the end of the show, and I would like just to receive the last sentiment, of course, from Rumbi Zai Muzopa in terms of some of the solutions. Because some ladies, after working as a domestic workers, they come back home, they are not even mentally stable. They've come back home mentally challenged because of what was done to them. Maybe the man of the house was constantly raping them or things like that. For the men, there has been the issue with the sodomy constantly. Now, when you come back with your family, you cannot even have the guts to tell them what you're going through because your family is all happy because you have been sending them money home, which is quite crazy. Some people have even ended up to become mentally unstable of what they have been going through. Rumi Zai, kindly go ahead. That is terms to the African Duchess. Kindly go ahead and give us your sentiments before we do come to the end of the show in terms of what is happening to domestic workers and, of course, in terms of solutions to this.
All right. Thank you for that, Kalmi. All right. In conclusion,
Rumi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So, in conclusion, I would just like to say that
Yes.
being a maid is just like any other job, but um, I want us to go back to how some people being a maid is because they don't have access to education. They don't have access to certain basic needs and services that are needed for one to sustain a comfortable or a livelihood. So I'm thinking that when it comes to education, there needs to be like an access equality or access to education even for women, because especially for women, because most of these maids, they are women, and some of them, they end up taking that job because they don't know so much. And you know what? Some of them are being mistreated. Some of them, they're finding themselves in very quite compromising and difficult positions. So imagine you're finding yourself in all those compromising positions and you are not even educated enough to know your rights as a person, to know your rights as a woman. Even just I'm not saying that education is the free path to richness or whatnot, but being educated, right? You can be able to stand up confidently among other people. When you're educated as well, you can make certain decisions, right? And I feel like this some of the domestic workers, they don't have certain knowledge or certain there is something, okay, that would be missing, that they will be missing. So I think as well we really need to speak and continuously raise awareness on women and having access to education as well, because most of these maids, especially this side, the population of maids, they start from the age of 15. So imagine you're a maid at 15. When is the right time will you go to school? So we they should be educated enough. Yes, you can be a maid by choice, but still you can be an educated, or you can be someone who's quite learned. And also, yeah, I think for today I'll just say that. I don't know if you guys agree, but well,
Well,
I'll just say that today.
Ruby, well, I think Akami has a network problem, and but I would still want to pour a little bit light on what, like you're saying.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you, Maria.
People jobs,
We
and
can't.
if there is job, that means you
Maria,
need
we
to
can't
have
hear you.
you'll be able to pay for the bribe. Yeah, and you can't hear me? You serious?
Now, yeah, now
Oh
I can
God,
hear
this
you.
is so not
Yeah,
good.
now I can hear you. Hello.
Okay, so I was like, well, I don't know about Zimbabwe, but speaking about
Mm.
my own, I must, you get people, at least most of the youth are educated to a certain level, at least what they call senior four. That means in senior four, someone is able to stand for their own, and also, I mean, knows how to read and do a lot of things, is capable of getting a job. But I feel like the government is so much, leaving everyone lagging behind. Unemployment rates are so high here in Uganda, and then I feel like in the entire of Africa actually. And then putting aside education, I once looked at a drama African youths were creating when they were using their certificates to as though I'm mad as things to wipe away dad because they are useless to them. So I feel like could be education is also something that helps people to stand up on their own. Like you said, I do agree with you on that. But again, when we see that the rate of unemployment, I feel like people are resorting to working as maids just because there are no jobs here. And if there are jobs, that means you have to pay in a whole lot of money to get a job. So somehow I feel like unemployment and this whole corruption thing with our governments is also a reason why most people are resorting into being housemaids and being enslaved anew by the Arabs and whatsoever. So I can tell my sisters are not live. I don't know if anyone is hearing me. Could be it's a network problem.
No, 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 no.
Why
I'm listening. I can hear you.
are you hiding yourself in the kitchen or what? I'm here.
Sorry.
Yo.
I can hear you, and I definitely agree with you on that, because there is no employment, right? Really, there is no employment. Even not even I can speak even for myself.
Mhm,
Well, I'm educated, I have a degree, but
mhm,
so what? There is no employment. So I really do agree with you. There is no employment. So definitely, if let's say I'm to get a chance or an opportunity to work, right? To work
mhm.
as a maid, and I'm getting a salary, definitely I will take that and I'll shove that degree in my whatever, my wardrobe or whatever. But there's no employment. So yeah, people were now doing
Yeah.
anything, just for survival.
That's true. That's true. And I feel like this is this whole made thing. Well, there is one time I was like, okay, I cannot find jobs. I'm educated. I'm a journalist, and I have no job. You go to a media station. I remember one time someone told me you have to be a celebrity for you to be on our radio, on our TV. You have to be a celebrity. Now look at Maria. I'm not this kind of person who likes the celebrity kind of side of life. I'm not. I'm just. I don't know. I'm just not that kind of person. So I was like, okay, so you mean I took a very, very bad choice to go for journalism? Because I mean, what are you talking about? The guy told me you have to open up Instagram, Twitter, all those social media platforms so that you can have followers, and then if you're giving you a job, you already have your own, you cover them and you already have your own friends. And I was like, okay, I didn't know about that. But so Africa is very funny. I am And of course now, like a lot of you, I had lots of youths out there looking for jobs with their papers, their shoes going dry one side because of job hunting. Then what? They have to go and try being made.